Usually when we talk about like a medical diagnosis or a crime scene, there's this underlying expectation of precision.
Oh, absolutely. Like engineering almost.
Right. You break your arm, the x-ray shows that jagged white line, and the doctor just points at the screen and says, well, there it is. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's a visual confirmation of the truth.
Exactly. Or you find a crime scene. Forensics bags the evidence, they check the timestamps, and the whole timeline just falls into place. Clean, visible, fully bound by the laws of physics.
Because that's what we expect. We expect the world to make sense.
But then you step into a scenario where the physical evidence, the digital records, and human eyewitnesses all point to completely different, mutually exclusive realities.
Which is terrifying.
Totally. Suddenly, that X-ray machine is broken. The timeline is shattered. And we're looking at a landscape that is, well, honestly, it's terrifyingly murky.
It becomes a thought experiment in the systemic collapse of reality. Today's deep dive pulls from a deeply unsettling piece of modern folklore. Or perhaps as an allegedly suppressed case file, depending on which corner of the internet you happen to frequent.
Yeah, the source material is titled The Dead Resident of Elevator B.
But our mission today isn't just to walk you through a ghost story. We are treating this narrative as a diagnostic tool.
Right, because we want to figure out what happens when the systems fail.
Exactly. In our modern world, you and I rely entirely on overlapping systems to construct our baseline reality. We trust security cameras, medical science, eyewitness testimony, all of it, to tell us what is actually real.
So what happens when all those systems just fail simultaneously?
You should care about this because it forces us to question the actual mechanics of perception. It makes you wonder just how fragile our understanding of the physical world truly is.
So what does this all mean? Let's start with the baseline facts of the initial discovery, because it sets up the physical paradox that kind of drives this entire narrative.
Yeah, let's lay the groundwork.
The setting is Westbridge Towers. So picture a classic environment of urban decay. 27 floors, stained carpets, flickering fluorescent lights, and elevators that just groan like dying animals.
The architecture itself is really important here. It's a high-density, low-maintenance environment where people are, well, they're conditioned to ignore anomalies.
Right, like just putting up with things.
Yeah. When a building is always broken, you kind of stop noticing when it's broken in a new way.
That perfectly explains the residents' initial reaction to the smell. I mean, it starts on a Monday near Elevator B, and at first, everyone just assumes, oh, the garbage chute is backed up again.
Which is a completely rational assumption in a building like that.
Totally. But by Tuesday, tenants are actively covering their noses whenever the elevator doors open. And by Wednesday, they just stop using it entirely.
The smell got that bad.
Yeah, and the source material notes the smell had evolved. It wasn't just old garbage anymore. The description is highly specific. It says, rotting meat, sweet, wet, wrong.
Ugh, that visceral description. It highlights a very real evolutionary response.
Oh, how so?
Well, human beings are biologically hardwired to recognize the specific chemical compounds of decomposition, specifically putrescine and cadaverine.
Just the names sound awful.
Right. When a body breaks down, it releases these molecules, and our olfactory receptors can detect them at astonishingly low concentrations.
So it's like an instinct.
Exactly. It's an ancient alarm bell in the brain screaming, disease, danger, death, get away.
So Elena Morris, the property manager, is finally flooded with enough complaints that she calls in a maintenance worker, Carl Benson.
He has to go figure out what's rotting.
Yeah. So he goes to inspect Elevator B on the 11th floor. He pries open the outer doors, and that smell just hits him like a physical wall.
But the cabin is empty, right?
Right. He checks the actual cabin. There's no blood, no garbage. The odor is coming from inside the shaft itself. So Carl aims his flashlight into the darkness below the cabin, and he sees a human hand wedged between the steel cables several floors down.
Wow. Which naturally triggers the immediate involvement of law enforcement.
Yeah, they do not mess around with that.
The police lower themselves into the shaft and find a man's body trapped between floor 8 and floor 9. He is completely crushed behind the heavy support machinery.
And the physical state of the body is where, this is where the first system of reality breaks down.
The forensics.
Yeah. The bones are bent unnaturally, the skin is gray, and the rot is visibly spreading. They identify him from his wallet almost immediately as Victor Hale, a 42-year-old resident of apartment 14C.
Okay, so they have an ID?
Right. And the medical examiners arrive and estimate, based on the advanced state of decay, that the body has been dead for at least a week. But here is the massive paradox. The corpse is warm.
Yeah.
It is actively radiating faint body heat. A paramedic on the scene actually whispers, "That's impossible,"
And scientifically speaking, it is impossible.
because it's been a week.
Right. We are talking about algor mortis, the second stage of death. A human body cools at a highly predictable rate. It's roughly 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit per hour until it reaches ambient room temperature.
So a week in a concrete shaft.
A body trapped in a drafty concrete elevator shaft for a week would be entirely cold. For a week-old decomposing body to radiate heat, it defies the first law of thermodynamics.
But wait, the timeline gets even more fractured.
Oh!
While the medical examiner is staring at a warm, week-old corpse, at least 12 independent witnesses, Victor's neighbors, swear they saw Victor Hale alive that very morning.
The same morning they found the body.
Yes. One elderly resident even claims Victor helped carry her groceries upstairs less than 3 hours before the crushed, decomposing body was discovered in the shaft.
That is just staggering.
I mean, I can't even get 12 of my neighbors to agree on what day the recycling goes out, let alone share a collective, identical hallucination of a guy carrying groceries.
What's fascinating here is how this scenario forces the lead investigator, Detective Marcus Reed, into an impossible binary.
He has to pick a side.
Exactly. He has to choose what to believe. On one hand, you have forensic entomology and pathology telling you this man died a week ago. On the other hand, you have human memory.
And 12 people is a lot of people to be wrong in the exact same way.
Right. Now, we know eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable, but 12 independent witnesses experiencing a collective hallucination that involves physical interaction, like holding groceries.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's like finding a burnt-out candle that's still radiating heat, while 12 different people swear they just saw it fully intact in its original packaging. You can't have a week-old rotting corpse and a helpful neighbor existing in the exact same morning.
In real-world psychology, we study a phenomenon called memory conformity,
What's that?
or the false consensus effect. It means if one neighbor confidently says, "Oh, I just saw Victor," others might unconsciously alter their own mundane memories to match that narrative.
Oh, like, yeah, I guess I saw him too.
Exactly. But the source material pushes past psychological phenomena. The narrative establishes that these sightings happened before the body was found.
Oh.
Yeah. There was no inciting incident to spark a false consensus. No one knew he was dead yet.
So because human testimony and forensic science are violently clashing, Detective Reed turns to the one thing we all treat as an objective truth teller.
Digital records.
Yes, digital records. If the neighbors and the corpse are lying, the cameras won't. But looking at the security footage only shatters the timeline further.
Because a digital camera doesn't have an imagination.
Right.
It doesn't experience memory conformity. It simply records photons hitting a sensor and writes that data to a hard drive.
So Marcus checks the lobby security footage, fully expecting to prove the neighbors just got their days mixed up. Instead, the timestamp reads 7:52 a.m. that exact morning.
The morning of the discovery.
The very same morning. The footage clearly shows Victor Hale entering the building. He's holding a coffee. He's talking on his phone. Totally normal.
Okay, so the neighbors were right.
But then, at 8:03 a.m., the camera on floor 14 catches Victor exiting elevator B only. His movement is wrong.
Wrong how?
The source notes he's moving too stiffly, like with his head tilted slightly too far to the side, almost resting on his shoulder. And as he passes the camera, he turns and smiles directly into the lens.
Ugh, that's deeply unsettling.
It's this unnatural, wide smile that lasts for exactly one frame before a burst of static distorts the footage.
That single frame of distortion is crucial.
Why is that?
In digital forensics, static isn't just speaky noise, it's a corruption of data. It's often caused by an electromagnetic surge or a physical failure of the recording medium.
But the static isn't even the weirdest part of the footage.
What is?
The mechanical log of the elevator completely contradicts the video. According to the internal computer that runs elevator B, the cabin never stopped on floor 14 at 8:03 a.m.
It never stopped.
In fact, it couldn't have. The maintenance team had already electronically locked the doors and shut off power to the motor because of the smell.
Wow. So this is the decoupling of two entirely separate digital architectures.
Meaning what exactly?
You have the CCTV network, which is visual, and then the elevator's PLC, the programmable logic controller, which is purely mechanical.
Okay, enough of.
The PLC log proves that the physical machine did not move. It had no power. But the CCTV proves that a man stepped out of it.
Wait, I have to push back on this. We rely on cameras as the ultimate arbiters of reality. But if the machine he stepped out of wasn't even functioning, is the camera actually recording reality?
That's the big question.
I mean, is there a scenario where a glitch in the network retroactively inserts a file? How does a detective even process that kind of contradiction?
That is the crux of the terror for Detective Reed. We were talking about the concept of a digital ghost.
A digital ghost?
Yeah. In real-world technology, timestamp desynchronization can actually happen if two separate servers aren't pinging the same atomic clock.
Oh, so the times just get mixed up.
Right. You can get visual logs that seemingly precede mechanical actions, but in the context of this narrative, it strips away the detective's final anchor.
He has nothing left to trust.
Forensic science failed him, human testimony failed him, and now objective digital truth has fractured into two opposing facts. He is looking at proof of an event that physics, mechanics, and biology all say is absolutely impossible.
Right, so having completely exhausted the witnesses and the digital footage, Marcus is desperate for a rational anchor.
He needs something real.
Yeah. He decides they need to search Victor's personal space, apartment 14C. He is looking for a suicide note, a motive, a timeline, anything. But this search leads to a discovery that completely shifts the entire context of the narrative.
It moves it from a bizarre temporal glitch into something deeply malicious.
Yes.
Because when the laws of physics break down, investigating the psychology of the environment is the only remaining logical step.
So Marcus starts interviewing the immediate neighbors on the 14th floor about Victor's behavior leading up to the discovery. Most say he was quiet, friendly, utterly ordinary.
The classic neighbor description.
Always. But a few tenants admit they had been hearing strange noises coming from his apartment late at night over the last few months. Dragging sounds. Heavy, muffled impacts.
That is not good.
And once, someone screaming inside the walls.
Inside the walls?
Yeah, not through the walls, but inside the drywall itself.
That spatial distinction is terrifying. It immediately changes Victor from a tragic victim of a bizarre elevator malfunction into an active predator.
So Marcus and his forensics team breach apartment 14C. At first glance, it looks like a completely normal, lived-in space. There are dishes in the sink, the TV is softly playing a morning news channel, the bed is unmade.
Just a snapshot of a normal morning.
But the physical sensation of the room is entirely wrong. It is inexplicably sweltering. The source compares it to standing in a small room with industrial space heaters running on maximum.
And the body radiating heat.
Exactly. And then Marcus notices the flies. Hundreds of blowflies are gathering around the door frame of the bathroom, but when they open the bathroom door, it is spotless, bleached clean.
The contrast there is a massive red flag in forensic science.
Why flies if it's clean?
Well, blowflies, specifically the Califoridae family, are usually the first responders to a dead body.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, they can detect decomposition miles away. So if a room is chemically sterile and yet swarming with flies, the insects are responding to a scent barrier.
They know something is there.
They're trying to get to something hidden just behind the surface.
Well, an officer is inspecting the perfectly clean bathroom, and he accidentally bumps the heavy mirror over the sink. It shifts.
It's not attached.
It's not mounted to the wall. It's on a hidden hinge. Behind the mirror, they find a massive hollow cavity carved directly into the building's drywall and structural supports.
Oh, no.
And the contents are horrifying. Stuffed into the darkness behind the drywall are dozens of human teeth, finger bones, hair, wallets, wedding rings, driver's licenses, trophies.
The trophies of a killer.
The realization hits the room instantly. Victor Hale wasn't just a quiet neighbor who died in an accident. He was a prolific serial killer.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this revelation recontextualizes the architecture of the entire building.
What do you mean?
Think of the psychology of a serial killer. They often fiercely compartmentalize their lives. They have a public-facing persona like the friendly guy carrying your groceries, and a hidden, monstrous reality.
It's like pulling a loose thread on a sweater, expecting a minor flaw, but instead the whole wall falls down to reveal a nightmare. The victim wasn't just a victim, he was the predator.
Or like a computer running a perfectly benign, boring screensaver on the monitor, while a massive, destructive malware program operates silently in the background, devouring the hard drive.
That is a perfect analogy.
Victor mirrored the psychological compartmentalization physically. He hid his horrifying trophies right behind the sterile, spotless facade of his bathroom mirror. The building literally became an extension of his pathology. He weaponized the blind spots of urban infrastructure.
But the moment they discover this rational, horrible truth-like, the moment they finally have an answer that makes sense, the fragile laws of reality completely snap.
The final breakdown.
We reach the climax of the source material. where the narrative drops all pretense of a standard police procedural. The detectives are standing in this sweltering, impossible apartment, looking at a wall full of human bones. Suddenly, every single light bulb in the apartment dims simultaneously to a dull orange.
The environment is actively reacting to their discovery. The screensaver has dropped.
Then, from the hallway outside the apartment, there were two slow, patient knocks at the front door.
Oh, man.
Everyone freezes. Marcus draws his weapon. He calls out, "Police!" Total silence. And then a familiar, muffled voice answers through the wood. "Can I come in?"
It's Victor.
It's Victor Hale's voice. The officers are frozen in absolute terror because they know for an empirical fact his crushed, rotting body is currently sitting at the bottom of the elevator shaft, 14 floors below them.
Right.
Another knock. Then low, wet, choking laughter from the hallway.
The tension here relies on the utter violation of natural law. In folklore, a threshold represents a boundary between worlds.
Like a vampire needing an invitation.
Exactly. A vampire has to be invited in. A ghost is tethered to a specific room. By asking, "Can I come in?" the entity in the hallway is acknowledging the boundary of the apartment.
So Marcus forces himself to walk to the door and look through the peephole. Standing out in the hallway, under the flickering fluorescent lights, is Victor Hale.
And what does he look like?
He's pale gray, his eyes are completely unfocused, and his neck is bent at a sharp, fatal angle that no living spine could survive.
The broken neck from the fall.
Right. And he smiles that same awful, wide smile from the security footage when he notices the peephole darken, and he whispers, "You found the wrong one."
A chilling double meaning.
Right.
Did they find the wrong body in the shaft? Or did they just uncover the wrong truth about who or what Victor really was?
Instantly, the hallway lights explode. Not just dim, but shatter. Darkness swallows the corridor. Screaming echoes from the main stairwell. The police throw open the door and rush out with flashlights and guns drawn, but the hallway is empty.
He's gone.
The only trace left are wet, gray footprints on the carpet, leading away from the apartment and directly toward the sealed, unpowered outer doors of Elevator B.
The exact same elevator shaft where the physical corpse is trapped. The parallel lines of the narrative are physically converging right there.
Marcus follows the footprints down the hall. He stands outside the sealed elevator doors on the 14th floor. The overwhelming smell of sweet, wet rot is back, suffocating the hallway.
The smell from the beginning.
And then, the elevator bell dings softly. The machine has no electrical power, the physical cables are locked, but slowly, the metal doors slide open.
What's inside?
Inside the pitch-black cabin is Victor Hale, or what used to be him. His body is entirely crushed. Bones are jutting through the gray skin, his arm is bent backward, and half his face is flattened like damaged meat.
Just horrifying.
Yet he is standing upright, still smiling that impossibly wide smile. Marcus raises his gun, his hands shaking, and asks, "What are you?"
And Victor's ruined, shattered jaw cracks open as he replies.
Still falling. Then the beams of the police flashlights illuminate what is behind him in the cavernous darkness of the shaft. Fused into the grease and the concrete between the floors are dozens of rotting human remains.
The other victim.
They're woven into the cables, and some of them are still moving weakly, whispering, crying in the dark. Marcus fires his gun instinctively. The doors violently slam shut. The machinery screams like tearing metal, and then just silence.
The revelation of the mass grave inside the infrastructure?
Here's where it gets really interesting. We'll look at that specific phrase. When Victor says "still falling," what does that actually mean mechanically?
It's such a loaded phrase.
Is he experiencing a continuous, infinite time loop of his own death? Is this a traditional haunting? Or is the building itself somehow trapping everyone in the exact nanosecond of their trauma?
This raises an important question about the architectural concept of liminal spaces.
Liminal spaces, right.
The French anthropologist Marc Auger coined the term non-lieux, or non-places, elevators, airports, hotel corridors. By their very design, they are transitional. They are spaces meant to take you from one place to another. You are not supposed to exist in them.
You're just passing through.
Right. You are neither here nor there.
You are literally suspended in the air between fixed points of reality.
Exactly. Our brains struggle to process liminal spaces because they lack context. When Victor says "still falling," he is articulating a literal state of suspended animation.
Caught in the middle.
He and the victims he hid in the walls are trapped in an architectural purgatory. The building isn't just haunted in the Victorian ghost story sense.
No, it's something worse.
The infrastructure has become a physical manifestation of a suspended state of horror. Time isn't moving forward for the entity in the shaft. They are forever caught in the space between living and dying, between floors, forever falling but never hitting the ground.
Because the trauma was just that intense.
The trauma was so immense that it broke the localized physics of the building.
It's a terrifying concept, being trapped in the momentum of your own demise. And the aftermath of this confrontation only makes the reality grimmer.
What happened after?
Over the next 2 days, the police bring in heavy machinery to fully open up the elevator shaft from top to bottom. They find 11 additional bodies hidden inside the walls and woven into the counterweights dating back nearly 15 years.
15 years of victims.
Every single one was a victim who had mysteriously disappeared from Westbridge Towers, people who were assumed to have just moved away in the night.
But the most disturbing detail from the forensic reports isn't just the body count.
What was it?
The pathology reports show that many of these victims exhibited signs of cellular growth-like hair and fingernail lengthening long after their official estimated times of death.
Which implies they were trapped in that liminal state, just like Victor.
Kept somehow pseudo-alive by the environment itself.
And as for Victor, authorities eventually confirm his initial time of death was absolutely the previous week. But nobody, not the police, not the forensic scientists, not the digital analyst, could explain the security footage.
The timeline remained permanently broken.
They couldn't explain how a dead man carried an old woman's groceries, or why multiple residents kept reporting sightings of him near Elevator B even after the body was zipped into a bag and taken to the morgue.
The empirical systems never recovered. The authorities simply had to file a report full of impossibilities.
Unsurprisingly, Westbridge Towers was condemned by the city shortly after the investigation concluded.
I would hope so.
But even an empty building doesn't necessarily mean a dead building. Demolition crews outright refused to work near the central elevator shaft.
Did they experience something?
Yeah. Several laborers quit on the spot after reporting hearing 3 slow knocks echoing from the concrete between the floors, followed by a muffled voice asking politely, "Can I come in?"
Nope, absolutely not.
The final security guard assigned to patrol the abandoned property filed one last log before quitting. He reported that sometimes, in the dead of night, the unpowered elevator still moves. You can hear the cables groaning, stopping on floors that no longer exist.
It suggests the structure itself has retained the memory of the violence. It's functioning on a map of reality that only it can see, completely divorced from our empirical world.
When you think about it, you and I walk past old buildings every single day. We step into elevators, we press a glowing button, and we trust the structures around us entirely blindly.
We do. We assume it's safe.
We trust that the steel cables will hold, that the mechanical PLC logs will match reality, that the floors are exactly where they're supposed to be, and that the timeline of our day will remain intact. We trust the X-ray to show the bone.
But if trauma can be so profoundly dense that it seemingly breaks the laws of physics delaying death, confusing digital timelines, and permanently staining a physical location due spaces, absorb the evil committed within them.
It's a haunting thought.
We rely heavily on logic and precision to make it through our day. But the next time you step into an old, groaning elevator and you are waiting in that suspended space between floors, ask yourself what history is hidden just behind the drywall and whether the space you are moving through remembers the people who never left.